Welcome everybody, CJ the Smart Guy with you. And today I'm with a very special guest, the CEO of Inner Working Management, as well as the CEO of Glockwork Records. He came on tour in Chicago, and man, brother's doing a whole lot of big things. So, give your flowers when you can, man. Denver, man, welcome to the show, man. How you been?
I'm doing well, CJ. Thank you so much for having me, King. I really do appreciate your time and your energy today. Let's get it.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you for coming out to Chicago, man. How was that experience when we came out there and talk crypto, Bitcoin, and all of that?
Man, listen, what that tour that you guys did, especially specifically in Chicago, just seeing the impact that you had on such a small community was so positive. You know what I mean? Especially a Black community. Like, I'm not from there, but I was treated like I was, like I was home. And just watching the amount of impact that you guys had, Naj and everybody, just the way you guys spoke so eloquently about Bitcoin and edifying our culture and our people about this was just profound. So I had an amazing experience. I went out there with my partner, and we got treated like we were from the neighborhood, which was
Yeah,
really really nice. And that was one of the organizers. I forget his name, but shout out to him. Like,
Quasi.
he was yes, Quasi. Shout out to Quasi. He had gotten us some water. Let us use the bathroom when we needed to. Mind you, we're in the middle of a basketball court. Like, took us to his home. Like, he knew us, and it was just a lot of love. So shout out to Chicago. Shout out to um, the financial tour and what you guys are doing. I'd love to, be on the. I'm definitely gonna be on the next one without a doubt. We might even be hosting an event together. Who knows? So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, Chicago was cool. It was so we went to two locations in Chicago.
Yep.
The first place we went to a church,
Yep.
and so that was one environment. And then we drove like to the other side of Chicago. And Chicago was a very interesting place for me because even though like the turnout, Chicago was probably our biggest turnout at all the spots. But
Wow.
like the amount of security that was there, the amount of cameras, the amount of police, I was like, whoa, like it must be really real over here in Chicago because we had the full force out. So
Yeah, that's a fact.
yeah, but I saw you and your partner just listening to everything, and I was like, man, that's what's up, man. Because it's one thing for people to get excited and turn up about something. It's another thing for people to listen and to take heed to it. And
Right.
when you was listening, I was like, oh, he's gonna take heed to this. He ain't just out here, drinking and having a good old time and
Right.
not listening. He paying attention. So shout outs to you for that.
I appreciate that, King. I mean, considering the fact that, it was in the afternoon. There was the first one at the church, I believe was at noon. I had gotten on the train from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I like took the train like 2 hours, like the time zone. I got on the train at like two, like I think 2 o'clock. I got on the Amtrak in Kalamazoo, and I took a train to Chicago, and then I took a lift from the Amtrak station to the location.
Mhm.
Literally, like with a bag on my back and my camera. That was it. You know what I mean? So I was dedicated. I was like, this is gonna be the closest place they're gonna be because there was one in Detroit, but I was like, well, there's not really Amtrak that goes from, to my knowledge, from Amtrak from Kalamazoo to Detroit. I was like, I'd rather go to Chicago anyway. So I made a whole day out of it, man. We got an Airbnb and everything like that, and I was like, I'm here for it. Like I say, man, I'll travel to the ends of the earth for some knowledge, bro. For real.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
yeah,
gonna do it like that.
that's important, man. People don't value that. Like when information is given out and people are doing things, like you got to go out there and go get it. That's the reason why I'm doing these interviews because it's like these are the people. These are the people who showed up. These are the people who got what they got going on. So let me give them the platform so that then I can introduce them to everybody else.
Right. Appreciate
Because
that.
at the end of the day, it's kind of like what Isaiah did. So you know, Isaiah's got a book called Bitcoin in Black America, um, and I read it, and in the back it's got his directory in it, and it's got like a list of all the different like black people that's in the crypto space. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what? So I just added everybody on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn.
Yeah,
And
LinkedIn. That's where to go.
2 months later, they're like, oh, you're a CPA. We need you for this and this and this. And just like that, just buying a book, just, talking to people on Clubhouse, reaching out to Naja, hey, I'm going to go on tour. And I met hundreds, if not thousands of people in this space. And, I'm glad you came out, man, for sure.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm glad that I had reached out to you too because I remember you weren't leaving, but you were talking with somebody. I was like, yo, CJ, and I was like, I was like, in my mind, my higher self was like, yo, this is a smart individual. Like something was like, go talk to this person. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Yeah.
when I go out, I love networking, but at the same time, some people don't want to network. They just want to pull up work and go home and don't want to talk to nobody. And I respect that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was like something in me was like, go introduce yourself. Go. You didn't come out here to not talk to nobody. You know what I mean? I did not spend $50 on no train to come out here not to network. So, but yeah, man. I mean, while you're on the book topic, man, I think books are very, very important. My last year, my goal was to read 24 books. I ended up doing like 20, I think 25 books. And I'm really happy about that. It was like 2 books a month, but just, whether it's audiobook, however I consume it, you know what I mean? So this year, my goal is 30, to consume 30 books. So I think books are absolutely paramount to anybody's success. Any one of my mentors are like, yo, listen, read books. 80% of the knowledge is in 20% of the book, and I'm like, ooh, that's a bar right there. So,
Yeah.
Speaking of books, man, Nipsey Hussle on your shirt. One of the books that I listen to a lot of interviews too, especially about people that I respect. Nipsey Hussle put me onto this book called Contagious by Jonah Berger.
Yeah.
And an amazing book, man. The year that he passed away, rest in power, Nip, he was gonna go write a second edition to that book. That book is probably one of the most powerful books that I've read when it comes to how to market yourself. Anybody that knows about the Proud to Pay campaign, that's where that came from.
Yep.
Was that book, and because I go deep with this stuff, man. I'm like, I want to listen to the narrative. Like, who are you behind the music? Like, I want to learn that. That's who I want to talk to. That's who I want to learn from. And that book changed my life, man. As soon as I heard about it, I bought it instantly. I was like, no debate. I want it. That's it.
Yeah. And see, I was listening to Nip since 08. And so like I paid attention to all the business models. So like even on when he had the marathon, he used to have marathon Mondays where every single week he would drop a new song on, as soon as, and then he would market on Twitter. Cause this is like when Twitter was first, like, I don't say it was just starting to get going, but it was nowhere near what it is now. Now it's a big corporation that everybody can buy into. It was still rather new for the younger people. And so he had marathon Mondays. Every single Monday he dropped a new single. And then like he's got a song on there where he was like 58,000 because that was how many followers he had on Twitter. And I remember that was like the moment he passed me on Twitter in terms of followers. I had 50,000 back then. And I was like, man, he came into this dropping a song every week. And now he's figured out a way to surpass everything. And so now, all these years later, I'm like, okay, let me drop a podcast episode, every single Friday and then have an interview to go with it so that I can, keep that pace. Cause if you try to do it every single day, you're going to burn out.
Definitely.
So run your race at an owner's pace. That's, forget the time it takes, that part.
Wait, run your race at the owner's pace, forget the time it takes.
Yep. Perfect timing. That's Nip. Yeah.
Wait.
Perfect timing.
Just knows I'm too late. Oh, you right. Wow.
Yeah.
That record is more of a poem record.
Yeah.
Like it's like, it's kind of like he's speaking at his own pace, not the pace of the beat. The people are cheering in the background.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I like Nip when he snaps, yo. Like
yeah.
I just be like, yo, what?
Yeah.
Like he be going crazy on it,
Stuck in the grind for sure.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That's one of my favorite records, actually. Stuck in the grind and grinding on my life. I like the YouTube video, like the duality where he's wearing red and blue.
Yep.
And it's like one's about like I'm in it and I love it, but it's like really like I'm stuck in it and I can't go anywhere. And it's like anytime I put somebody on a Nip, I show them that because it's like an 8-minute long video, and it's like no one's doing that anymore. No one's making these long pieces of art.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Ultimately, it's a piece of art. And that's why I look at the way I look at music. People go, I don't like it. Well, it's a piece. This is someone, they took their heart and they put it out. Whether you like it or not, that don't matter. It's like this is still a timeless piece of art right here. Nip made timeless music. Like every time I listen to, like I said, like No Pressure, my favorite EP, favorite album, whatever you want to call it. But it was so, him and Bino did such a good job in conveying the lifestyle and like, okay, I'm in this life. I'm not about it. There are better things on my horizon, like Ocean Views is one of my favorite records. I think that's on Slauson Boy too.
Yep.
Ocean Views, Small Circle, chosen few. I wrote it down and I followed through. And I'm like, bro, that's my life. I write it down, bro, and I follow through, man. And it's like, I've been on my goal, writing down my daily and weekly goals for years now. And when I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm sold. Whatever you selling, I'm buying. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
He was like, your boy done shot to the ceiling. At first, it's the awkwardest feeling, but forget it,
Yes.
let's get it. And
Right.
like that just happened to me. So I was buying some food yesterday. Literally, I was at the restaurant and I'm walking, and somebody's like, "You're CJ," and I was like, "Yeah." And that awkward feeling of it's like, how do you know who I am? And they're like, "Oh, I remember you from tour," and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh man, it's like it's real."
Right.
And you know, I wasn't ready for that, and so
Right.
that was the verse that popped in my head. Was like, you know what, it might be awkward, but you know what, that's
Right.
just a part of it. So
Right.
embrace
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah. I feel that. It's kind of like the status symbol. He's like, yo, despite the status, he said something. I forget the line that he said, but he's like, um, despite the like, I forget what it was, but it's essentially he was talking about like how his status is like, well, it's like I didn't ask for this, but I'm here and I gotta live it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, so simple gems, man.
yeah,
Like, but really intricate when you think about it, like for real.
for sure. So has he had an influence? Because you have a record label too,
Dude,
Clockwork
Clockwork.
Records. How's that going? And was there any like impact for it?
Man, definitely. I mean, at this point, I have 150 more 150 records plus on the label, and definitely has impacted the label when it comes to ownership. You know what I mean? Like from day one, I found it in 2018, 2017, and really, changing the way I looked at hip hop music as a whole. But when I think about my label and ownership, it was like, this is why I have a label from the get. Before I even heard him, it was like, well, I can make all this music and go sign to Sony and go do this and go do that. But it's like, no, I'm gonna just own my own thing and help my clients, help my artists own their own thing as well. Help them understand the narrative of ownership. We just did our 181st release on the 22nd, 01/22, 2022. I'm sorry, 01/22,
Two.
2022. A lot of twos.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah, I got you.
I'm big on numerology, so I release music around numerology. That being said, 181 records, and the artist is from the Philippines, really underground, and like, I set it up where people are actually reaching out to him to buy the record from him, like peer to peer, instead of going to a Spotify or a SoundCloud. It's like they're hitting him up in his inbox. We're about to do an Ask Me Anything. The record was just released. We're talking, what's today, the 31st, so we're talking less than a week. It's about to break 1,000 plays. All organic, no marketing, nothing, because I haven't released a record on the label since 2000, I think February of last year, because I've just been focusing on other things. But it's just really nice to see it, even after a year of not releasing music, we could run up 1,000 plays with no money down, no nothing.
Yeah.
And we're about to do an Ask Me Anything. But I taught this young artist, he's 17, about own your own masters. I let my artists keep their masters. I don't, when it comes to royalties, we do whatever. But own your masters. That's yours. You know what I mean? I don't want to take that from you, because if Sony hits you up and they're like, you want to do a publishing deal, I don't need you. You shouldn't have to call me to be like, hey, Denver, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Do what you do. It's your art.
Yeah.
That's your IP. So, but yeah, man, I love what just Nip did with the Proud to Pay campaign. I think that was one of the greatest plays in hip hop ever. Like,
Yeah.
Jay-Z hit him up and brought 1,000 copies. Like, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it was 100
100,
copies.
100 copies.
100
Yeah.
copies. Like 100 bands. Like it was nothing. I was like, listen, man,
Yeah.
listen. Like, that's respect.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, so you talk about ownership. How are you feeling about NFTs in the space? Because I know Nas, he just released his album through NFTs, and really the Crenshaw album was really an NFT before it was popular. With Nip, that was that came from that Contagious book also, where he dropped he sold 1,000 CDs for $100 directly, but then anybody who bought the record, they'd be able to go to a concert. Anybody who bought it, and so to me that was an NFT before NFTs were really around. So how are you feeling about NFTs?
Definitely, that was definitely a smart contract for sure. You go in the store and get music before it dropped early, and he was doing the thing where it's like you could have your phone in his store, and like it would, like, you would scan the barcode, and I was like, genius. So how do I feel about NFTs, man? So I expressed it to you a couple of weeks, not even. I think the 16th I came back. I flew to LA from this on the 6th of January to the 16th. I was out there for 10 days, you know, and one of my colleagues from New York recently moved to LA. Shout out to Justin Molina, you know, shameless plug, Three Kings Cannabis, owns a cannabis company out there, but is also a like really smart individual when it comes to NFTs
Mhm.
and DeFi and crypto and all of that. So I flew out there, let me stay on his couch for the whole time. You know what I mean? Like shout out to him, and like every day we waking up, he giving me game. I'm learning different strategies about it because as a record label owner, I've got a lot of IP, a lot of art per se, you know. And how do I feel about it? Um, I know enough to know I know nothing, right? If I don't know it, I'm gonna hire somebody. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's what I did when I was in LA. So it's like right now I'm working on a couple NFT projects when it comes to like artwork that I'm working on for the label. And then like if you buy when you buy the NFT, you'll be able to come to our shows for X amount of time. You'll get this. So we're working on the smart contract right now, like essentially like the value proposition, right? That's what we're working on. But I love the idea of it. I really do. I'm not gonna sit here in front of you like I know enough about it to be like, oh yeah, I don't. You know, it's still new, and I like to stay focused. If I know something, I stay focused, and if I don't, I will hire somebody else to focus on that task for me. You know,
Gotcha.
so that being said, I think it's a great idea. I also think that people that knew nothing about art or didn't even care about art are liking art now. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. It's like, you know, I think people like to hop on the hype train. You know what I mean? And NFT, metaverse, this. And it's like, you know, shout out to Ty Lopez, one of my mentors. He always says, never be the first one to be in something, and never be the first one to be, never be the first, and never be the last to try something.
Yeah.
You know, and right now I still think NFTs are still in their infancy.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm looking to see where it goes. You know, I want to see what the next 2 years look like before I'm like gung ho about it. But I'm gonna make my own. Before I buy anybody else's, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make my own.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I mean? Like I'm
That's what
not
I
gonna.
did.
Yeah, there you go. So you know, we're working on the minting process, but I want to figure out a really good value proposition. You know, I don't see many record labels doing it yet. You know, I know they will hop on that Sony, you know, UMG, all of that. Like, but I want to see a good value prop. You know, what do I have to offer my niche and my audience that can actually benefit them, you know, and provide value in like an educational way. You know, like if you get this, buy this NFT, you know, you'll get a tool belt with all the books I've ever read or something like that. I think that's a good value prop right there.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? That's a lot of game, you
Yeah.
know? So,
I
but yeah,
know.
ultimately, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So what I did with mine, so um, you know, I when I left my job in 2016, by the time I got my license, I was like broke, like I was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I knew that I just got my CPA and I was like, man, I need some funding. Like I need I need the software, I need all these security features, I needed Wi-Fi, I need a place to stay, I need all these different things. And so what I did was I created a clothing line. And I, you know, my prices were kind of high considering that I was brand new, but I was like, but I need to keep the margins, you know, big so I can actually, you know, create my firm.
Right.
And so what I did was everybody who purchased it, I gave them a physical like piece of cardboard that was signed. And I said, hey, you know, this is going to be worth something one day.
Wow.
And now this year, 2022, what I'm doing is I'm converting the physical into a digital. And
Mm-hmm.
anybody who owns that digital NFT, they're going to get a 20% discount on all of my products and all my services forever. Um, and so then if somebody says, hey, I need you to come speak at this event, and you know, I'm like, hey, it's 10,000 a show. You want me to talk? 10,000.
Right.
What that does is that gives that NFT an intrinsic value of $2,000 now, because
Right.
somebody's going to want to buy that if they're like, hey, I don't want to pay you 10,000. I just want to pay you 8,000.
Right.
I bought an NFT from somebody else, you know, and then every time it's resold, I collect the, you know, 20% residual. So
Right.
it's a win-win-win situation, and it helps out all the original people who you know
Mm-hmm.
who bought into what I got going on. So lots
Powerful.
of business models.
Right. That's powerful. And that's another thing about it. It's just a whole other business model that I have yet to understand, you know? And that's what I always look at. Like, what's the model? Like, you know, shout out to Nit. Like, what's the model? What's the business model? And that's what I look at before I look at a company or you know, big, you know, NFT. I'm like, well, how does this work internally? You
Yeah,
know, that's one of the reasons I flew out to LA to just sit down, meet with my man Justin, and just have him pick my brain. I'm really just about to have him come on and just run that department of my company because I have if you think about 150 records, man, each one of those records has a piece of art attached to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I have over 150 pieces of art to already work with, not including the NFT design, the designs that I've created specifically for NFTs. So let's call it 200 designs. Like, that's a lot of IP right there that I can't just be like, I'm gonna throw out to the wind and see what happens. I could really strategically, if I take the next 5 years and I release 20 pieces a year, I could be a millionaire by the time I'm like 35, for real. You
Easy.
know,
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah.
easy. If not a billionaire, you know. And it's
Yeah.
like, and that's why I want to take. I like to take. You know, the more I mature and the older I get, I realize a lot of entrepreneurs just go. I like strategy. What's the play? What's the data? Before I take a step, I need to know how many steps do I need to take before I hit that 5K mile. How many steps so I have an idea? Is it 3,000 steps? All right, bet. If I got to take 35 to 4,000 steps, I'm ready. Let's do it. You know.
Yeah.
But I realize a lot of entrepreneurs just go, 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 and I feel like you get burned out that way because you don't know the scope of your work. So
yeah. So you mentioned data. So I know that there's a couple other people that I've spoke with. I know Fred Brandon, he's in the data and cybersecurity. I know Jasmine Brunson, she's like a data analyst. Things that. So what does data mean to you?
What does data mean to me? Well, numbers, man. I mean, not just numbers, but it starts as numbers. But data is like, I like facts and data, things that I can measure. That's what I like. You know, like for instance, a lot of people, and this is some game right here, a lot of people don't know the key to making 6 figures a year. You know, like if you look at $100,000 and you look at the data on how to get there, right? Most people don't know the math. It's $300 a day. Really, it's $274, but it's $300 a day. If you make $300 a day for 365 days a year, you'll make 100 grand. And it's like, I like data because I can measure that. If I know, okay, it's going to take me this many days to make this much or do this much, I can measure that over time and be like, okay, this is how you get better. Because if, you know, everybody want to be a millionaire, but don't know how to do their taxes, don't know how to do a P&L sheet.
Yeah.
It's like, how you want to make all this money, but you don't know how to, the basics on how to get there. You want to build a skyscraper, but don't know how to build a foundation. So I like studying foundation, you know, data of foundation. You know, I work partnering with Dun & Bradstreet right now. Shout out to D&B. And I'm a data analyst with the company, studying a lot of data. And I just, you know, data needs to be quantifiable, you know. And I really got into that space with marketing and understanding analytics, you know, cost per click, you know, the avatar, where are people clicking from, where, you know, what type of person, was it male, female, what's the age, you know, understanding all these data elements about human beings and the buying power that a specific niche may have or a specific area in the world may have. A lot of people don't realize most of the millionaires and billionaires are in Singapore. For real. And that's, you know, that's a whole other part of why Singapore, you know, well, study the data, study the GDP. You know, I'm a big GDP guy. I like looking at countries and cities and be like, what's the GDP? Why is it worth that much money? What's going on there for that much commerce to be going on there? You know, a lot of people love New York City because that's old money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a New York native. Like, I get it. New York's a beautiful place. You know, we talking Rockefeller money. We talking, you know, Vanderbilt, Van Dyke. We talking like the 13 families kind of money, you know? Like, you can't really go too many places in the world and see that. So I'm low-key a nerd, bro, and I embrace it.
No, that's cool.
I really am, man, you know, and the older I get, the more I realize, like, that's okay. I got to embrace that inner nerd because I love it, and it's what pays the bills, and people find value in that too. They're like, well, we all need, I remember I was running, someone just recently hired me to do a campaign, and I was like, I'm such a nerd, and they're like, we need more nerds, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing that Nipsey was trying to do with Idris Sandu.
Yes,
so,
Idris, yes.
Yeah, Idris, that's his chief technology officer. And he was the one who helped program the augmented reality inside the Marathon Smart store. And they were doing an interview. And basically what he was saying was, we're trying to change the narrative from being smart as being like a negative connotation, oh, you white, or, you know, you to, hey, look, he's smart, let's rock with you, because to intentionally be stupid is a cancer, and we don't need that in our, you know, life. And so that's honestly where the name CJ the Smart Guy was inspired from. Because I've been a nerd since I was little, but growing up that was a negative connotation. So it was like, well, look, I'm not gonna, feel me, I'm gonna sit in the back because I ain't trying to be, you know, dude at the front. And after seeing Idris and Nipsey talk about, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna run with this. The
Right.
marathon continues. CJ the smart guy. Let's keep it going so that the young people have something to embrace. And
Right.
so hopefully I can get on to like different TV shows and wind up being actually like a cool, cool person in the
Right.
industry, just so that the kids can see, oh, being a CPA is cool, being smart is cool,
Mm-hmm.
versus always trying to do the negative stuff like the money, guns, drugs, sex, murder
Exactly.
that they hear in all the
Exactly.
music.
Right. Exactly. That narrative, you
Yeah,
know, like it's just not a positive one. And I mean, if to be honest, that's what all the cultures do. You know what I mean? The smart person, they at the front. They're the leader. They're at the front of the pack.
yeah,
You know, they're like, oh, he's smart. Yeah, put him in the front.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like our culture needs to do the same, man. You know what I mean? Like too often, like we're shunned for being smart. When we're really some of the smartest people on the planet. Our culture, it's like it's taken and it's convoluted into this idea that it's not like this notion and this narrative that it's so far from, systematically too. So
yeah.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm glad you own your own record label. Then you can own the narrative.
Yes.
Um, and if I'm not mistaken, you said that you were going on tour this year, correct?
Yup, yup, yup.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. So right now, my team and I, so Inner Workings Management is a boutique agency. We do talent management, we do media, and we also do business incubation. One of my goals this year, and it's a pretty big goal, is to help start 100 businesses. That's my
Okay.
goal this year. C corps as well as LLCs. Those are, whether one or the other. And I don't want to say start 100 businesses because I've realized people be like, "What, you want to start 100 businesses?" Well, I don't want 100 businesses. I want to help. I'm good. I have
Yeah,
enough on my plate with two. Like
yeah.
I want to help start 100 businesses, and I'm starting with my niche musicians. All my I have 6 clients. It's a boutique agency. 3 clients in the U.S., 1 in London, and 2 in the Philippines, and they all have LLCs. All of them. I help them all, understand how to do a P&L sheet and all that good stuff. But back to the tour, a lot of people don't realize, like, to go on tour, you got to have a business. If you're going to have promoters and talent buyers pay you, it needs to go to a business bank account. Because when you go and do your taxes next year and they see you done made 100 grand off of music, they're going to be like, nah, we want our cut if you don't have a business in place.
Yep.
So right now I'm planning a tour with my team, a national tour starting March 17th, and which is St. Patrick's Day weekend, ending July 1st, which is Independence Day weekend. And we're focusing on like New Hampshire down to Miami, then Michigan, Chicago, Colorado, some dates in Houston, one in Dallas, LA, San Diego, and San Francisco. So those are our target markets, and target audiences, if you will. So
Where can people check out the information about this tour? Because you mentioned some cities. I'm in Houston, but I'm in LA and Dallas a lot also.
okay.
So where can we go to check out the tour?
Definitely. So innerworkingsmanagement.com. You can also check out Inner Workings Management on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the 2 places that we got going on right now. But really, the website. The website will be launching. The goal is to launch by March 1st. Right now, the goal is to have 5 dates before we launch anything. So essentially, the next 4 weeks, you'll be seeing a lot of updates. We just did our hard launch to the audience and social media this past month in January. Obviously, we're still in January, it's the 31st, but we spent the whole month just really building up that organic reach, that organic following. We just brought on one of the biggest clients of my life, Messinian. Shout out to him. He's actually considered to be the voice of electronic music. A lot of people, like, he's been in the game for 20 years, and to have him become a part of the team and believe in my vision and believe in the company's vision is huge for me. So shout out to him. If you ever get a chance, check him out on everywhere. Messinian, Messinian. And
Okay.
he's got some of the biggest records in all of electronic dance music, for real. So he's going to be our anchor artist on this tour, as well as on the agency. So things are good, man. Things are good in that department. So I'm excited for this tour, though, because I've planned 2 tours in my past. One was the Alter Egos tour, which was 2017, and then the Glocks and Roses tour, which was 2018. And both those tours, I wasn't even producing music. I was just a DJ. Now I've got tons of music. I got 28 records to release this year. The idea is to release one every other week. They're all done, but it's like at the same time, I don't want to I don't want to add too much to my plate. I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather sit on the music, and not be like, I'm not one of those people who be like, oh, it's not ready yet. No, it's ready, but at the same time, I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush it and be like, oh, here's all this music while I'm trying to do a podcast, trying to do a tour, trying to run companies. Like, focus, young Jedi, focus.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
And you mentioned that podcast. I, what was exactly the podcast about again? Like, I know you had said that you
Podcast,
wanted me to come on there, so I'm
yeah,
grateful for that.
definitely. So the
Yeah.
podcast is called Profound Sound, and it's focused around holistic healers, entrepreneurs, slash business owners, and musicians, and how they create an impact in their life doing what they do every single day.
Mm.
And the idea is to be able to peak my interviewee, the person I'm interviewing, to think a little deeper of, like, who are your mentors, who influenced you, what books did you read, and through that, piquing their interest and having them think, I'm providing value to the audience. Maybe you should go check out this mentor. Maybe you should go check out this book. Maybe you should travel to this country. I ask very, very in-depth questions. Like, one of them is like, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is, what's the worst advice you've ever gotten? Questions like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and a lot of people like to ask, what are 3 things I should do with a business? Well, what are 3 things that I shouldn't do in business, right? Like, questions like that, and then it gets people thinking, like, oh wow, whether it has to do with integrity or, when I got asked that question, it's like, well, have a lot of integrity, because ultimately, like, people are not gonna like what you're doing with business, but when you lay your head on your bed at night in your pillow and knowing that you're doing everything that you can, it's like no one can tell you nothing, nothing, because you have integrity, So that's one of the lessons I tell people, like, as a business owner, have integrity, do things by the book, pay your taxes, pay your taxes,
Yeah.
please. Like, honestly. So that's another piece of game that I like to give to people,
Yeah, for sure, man. You'd be amazed how many people I see being a CPA who makes 7 figures in this crypto space, haven't paid any taxes, and then they, in their mind, they're never going, get caught. And I'm like, look, I'm rooting for you. Look, at the end of the day, right, I don't want you to get caught up. Mm-hmm. But in my professional judgment, it's only a matter of time. And I'm trying to come to you beforehand so that, right, you don't have to pay me as much. Mm-hmm. But you come here afterwards, that right, check gonna be a lot higher, because right, now there's a lot more on the line. And I tried to tell you. So integrity is very important, regardless of whether you get caught or not. That's your brand. I know I've spent like $0 on ads. Why? Because I just try to provide value in everything I do. If the people can see it, I don't need to spend money on hoping somebody's going to listen. If you provide value, they going to listen. They going to tune in and be like, hey, I'm going to share it too, because you brought me some value. I'm going to share it with the next person.
Yep. Facts. Facts, no cap.
Yeah. Man. So there was one more thing. Hold on. There was one more thing I wanted to make sure I asked you. Sony. What's your deal with Sony, man?
Man, shout out to Ryan Brunson. Excuse me. My man just started working with Sony Orchard, who's powered by Sony, and we got off a call on Sunday, and we got some things planning over there, man. Sony, they're interested in distributing a couple of my records, so I'm really excited about that. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be a huge play for me, because myself and my team, because having a label is one thing, but having Sony come to me and be like, yo, we want to release your, we want to work with you and distribute your unreleased music, and making sure that I own the rights, the masters to my music, you know what I mean? That's huge to me. And just got the contracts back, and it's looking pretty, man. It's looking pretty. I'm not gonna say too much, you know what I mean? But I'm not one of those people be like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Like, no, like, I like to speak things into existence. I'm about manifesting, but I also don't want to jump the gun and be like, yeah, go check it out here. Like, but just know, this year, we only in January, about to be in February. It's about to be a hot year, and this goes back to that book, Contagious. Shout out to Nip and Jonah Berger. Like, understanding that, just having people talk about it a little bit over here can create a wildfire over here. Mm-hmm. And so I say that to say, having people in the Sony, who Sony distributes to will only bring attention to my brand, my record label, my agency, all these different things. So I'm just, you know, really excited about that and where that's going to take me this year alone, you know, because it's huge. And I called one of my mans from LA who I was producing with when I was out there. I was like, shout out to Flex Caliber. I was like, yo, bro, you gotta hit him up. I literally called him right after I got off the phone and gave him the connect. Like, that's how I am, bro. Like, I'm not on some like gatekeeper kind of thing. Like, if I see that somebody can provide you value over here, and I know you work hard, I know you have integrity, and I know what you about, I'm gonna slide you to connect. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, you gotta do. I don't care about that. Like, because the way I look at it, I'm gonna win regardless.
That part.
Period. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna be at the top regardless. I just don't want to be up there lonely, bro. For real. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get there. So I just like to give people, you know, bless them with connections however I can provide value, man, because that goes a long way. You know, one of my mentors always taught me, like, think with the end in mind, man. I'm the type to think like, what's CJ gonna say at my eulogy? You know, like, what's people gonna think? What are people gonna say when I'm gone about me? Yeah. You know, yo, Denver was this, Denver was that. He was a good guy. He gave me connection. You know, what are the positive things that people are actually gonna say about me instead of mourning that I'm gone, right? So every morning I wake up, everything I do, I think about that for real. You know, and it might be morbid to some people, but like, really, what's the goal? Yeah. Where, you know, and you think about it when you're 80, 90, and you sitting there and you like, wow, it's been a good run. Yeah. It's been a shitty run. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, man. So I you know, I want to give some game. I think a lot of people should read books, man. I want to give a list of books if I can, man. I'd love to. For real.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, so that's like the last segment. What I do is I always say, you know, so if you got one thing to tell the people, what would it be? All the pressure. No, ain't no pressure.
No, I love the pressure, man. I love the pressure. Oh my God. Practice gratitude daily.
Okay.
Daily. That's I think that's like, if you know, I like anime. I watch Dragon Ball Z. When I think about like you know, like, you think about the sensu bean, right? Like, I feel like gratitude is my sensu bean throughout the day. I practice gratitude 3 times a day. You know, I take a second to pause. I'm like, yo, I thank God or universe, whatever higher spirit, whatever you think, you know, you believe in, even if it's yourself. Like, you know, thank you for this conversation with CJ. Thank you for my phone. Thank you for Zoom. Simple things like that, you know, because people always want to call on God when they're in trouble.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Why don't you think the universe or God, whatever you believe in, when things are good?
Yeah, that part.
You know what I mean? Sure. For real. Like, it's like, oh my God, help me. Nah, God, thank you. For real. For real. Like, practicing gratitude, man. I have a lot of inner peace with that. So, you know, one thing I would tell people is just practice gratitude daily, for real. You know what I mean? Even for the smallest things, because we always want to compare ourselves to the people that have more than us. But what about the people that have nothing? I'm from New York City. There's people dying in the cold right now in New York City, for real.
Yeah.
That part, for real. And it's like, people want to be like, oh, I don't got this, I don't got that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, what are you grateful for? So, you know, I could go on about that, but practice gratitude daily is definitely something that I had to come through the pandemic and lockdown. Yeah. You know, just being grateful for my life and what I have around me, my home, my computer, my companies, this notepad to write on, for real, simple things, like, but it's a daily practice. Yeah. It's harder than you think. You know what I mean? Like, every day I take a time and I sit back, I take a deep breath, and I'm like, yo, just thank you. Thank you for this. You know, I started a gratitude journal this year. You know, I'm a big Russ fan. Shout out to Russ. You know, shout out to Big Sean. Like, you know, Russ, Nipsey, and Nipsey. Like, those are 3 rappers that have such a positive narrative that I follow to the T. Mm-hmm. You know, they're just the way they're thinking about putting on their team. Like Big Sean got this new record called Chaos. It just came out with Hit Boy. Shout out to Hit Boy. And he's like, I'm at the table 1,000 a plate. If you're not working, you're taking up space. And I was like, yo, that's what I'm talking about right there. Like, that's, you know, when I think about that narrative, it's like, yo, what kind of value you bringing to me? Because it's 1,000 a plate for me and my team right now. What's up? This is where I'm at, you know? Yeah. So, you know, back to the whole idea, gratitude. Just gratitude. That's,
man, I love that message. I know when I was studying for my CPA exam and my money started disappearing, certain people in my life started disappearing, my lifestyle disappeared, even the, the look, like, cause I was, I was getting ugly, cause like I had no money to get shaved. So
Feel it.
it was bad. And like
Mhm.
through that, once I started like coming on the other end, I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm grateful I can even go to Dollar Tree. And if I'm really hungry, I got $3 I can eat. Like being grateful for the small things. And I think like, whether you believe in the Bible or not, that concept of, if you have the faith of a mustard seed,
Mhm.
you basically gonna be straight.
Oh,
You
that's the
gotta have a
big
faith of a
part.
mustard seed.
Wow. I
Yeah.
never understood that till now. Faith of a mustard seed got me. Yo, what?
Uh,
Hold on. That's a knit bar right there. In fact, he said faith of a mustard seed had me. Yeah, he said that one time in I don't remember what song, but
mhm,
I never understood that connotation until you just said it now.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Uh, I
That's
mean, I remember
crazy.
the biggest one for me was and you can walk on water, just don't look down at your feet. Like,
Mm.
because when I was studying for my CPA exam, like that song "Perfect Timing" we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the day that song dropped was the exact same day I failed my sixth exam. So
Wow.
CPA, you got to pass four,
Mm-hmm.
and within 18 months. And so I had already passed three. I failed two already.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was like, man, I failed this, another one. I'm 3 for 3. And
Mm-hmm.
like I was stressed out. I was like, man, I don't want to take another one. I hate these
Right.
exams. My
Right.
money gone, the girls are gone, the look is
Mm-hmm.
gone. I'm
Mm-hmm.
basically just sad and depressed. And that song came out the exact day I failed my sixth exam.
Wow.
And it was like, just keep running your race at the owner's pace and forget the time it
Yes.
take. And I was like,
Yes.
you know what? Ah,
Yes.
let me go ahead
Exactly.
and finish this one. And I passed my
Right.
last exam with 1 day left in the 18-month time period with the exact 75 score that you got to get to pass. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Right. Right. You only in a race with yourself, man. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You only in a race with yourself. So the name of that song is Faith. Faith.
Oh, on extra laps.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yes, bro. I was like, I know that's a nip bar right there. Like, there's just some words out here say, I'm like, your idioms are on point, my good sir. They
Yeah.
like he knew what up, he knew what was up, man, for real. But
Yeah.
that's love right there that you passed, you know what I mean? Like, cause you're only in a race with yourself, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't, the only person I'm trying to be better than is who I was yesterday, for real, for real. Like I'm not worried about, what you doing over here. Like if we could collaborate and run up a bag and create some really great impact, let's do that. But if it's not about, I'm too focused right now,
Yeah.
and blinders on. I don't, if it don't align, let it slide. That's my motto for the year. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I've had to make some tough decisions and let some people go, within my circle and my company because it was like we were going in the same direction, but the trajectory was different.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that, and it's like, you learn a lot about people by what they say no to instead of what they say yes to. You
Yeah.
know, and I was like, I cannot continue this narrative. You don't have anyway. I'm not gonna go deep into
Yeah.
it, but it's like I gotta say no to this. You know what I mean? It's not serving me.
Yeah.
You know, so
Circle got smaller. Everybody
everybody
can't go.
can't go. Woo! Exactly. Exactly, bro. Ocean views, small circle is the chosen few. I wrote it down and I followed through. I bought a pound and we wrote a few. I talk shit, but she know it's true. Listen, man, man. That's my favorite song. That's for sure. That's my favorite lip song for real.
Yeah.
For real,
I
for real.
think for me it was every mixtape, every album that would come out, it was so difficult because they're all classics in
Yep.
their own respective time
Yep.
period. But I
Mm-hmm.
look back at Mailbox Money and I'm like, the things he was talking about in Mailbox Money is everything that's happening today. And I'm like, whoa. When he talks about like this big business going crumble,
Yep. Yep.
that's what's going on right now because
Yep.
it's the technology is making them crumble and you're starting to see it. But I think that once there's one law in accounting,
Mm-hmm.
and I think once that one law is changed, that's
Mm-hmm.
when Bitcoin takes over. Nobody really talks about it because it's an accounting rule.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
way that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is accounted for on a balance sheet meaning your assets minus your
Right.
liabilities, owner's equity,
Mm-hmm.
is right now Bitcoin is treated as an intangible asset, meaning if
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin goes up, they can't write it going up. But if it goes down, they have to write it going down.
Okay.
So if you're a CEO and you get paid based off of, your P&L, your income statement, if it goes up, you don't get any benefit. But if it goes down, you take all the risk. So if you're a CEO, why would you have your corporation buy Bitcoin?
Right.
You don't get any benefit.
Right.
But on February 1st and 2nd, which is, we recording this now, but it's going to come out later in March. So they're going to have to look back at this. But Michael Saylor is having an event where he's teaching these corporations, hey, look, this is the reason why, you guys aren't buying it. Let's go ahead and make a change in the government. Let's make a change in the White House, the AICPA, all the accounting firms, and let's change this from intangible asset to maybe a fair market value asset, where if it goes up, we include it. If it goes down, we include it, so that if it goes up, we get our bonuses.
Right.
If they change that, just watch. All these big corporations are going to start buying all types of Bitcoin.
Right.
And that's when this whole digital world, I think, will really start to fruition, because one little law can make a big change.
Definitely. I agree with that. I think a lot of companies are holding it. Most of them just don't, because all you got to do is hire one CPA, start another LLC or a corporation under that, hire them and just hold it. That's it. That's it. And not do nothing with it, and just have them trade, pay them a yearly salary, and that's it. And they're just a CPA, and that's it. Or CFO. And all they do is trade. That's it. Literally. So it's a lot. I think a lot of these companies are holding. And go back to what you were saying about big business will crumble, definitely, because everything's decentralized. Every time I think about where the world, and this is something I think about a lot, CJ, is like, I remember being a kid and my mom being like, or adults being like, oh, you don't understand the way the world works. And like, as a kid, being a very young kid, I think I understood how the world worked, where it was like, you get paid based on the value that you provide. That's it. Period. In the story. And I figured that out at like 8 years old, because I remember looking up at the stars and I was like, I want to be an astronaut, and I started looking up, well, how much do astronauts get paid? Can I young man. I was like, I want to go to the stars one day. And I was like, well, I started looking at it and I'm like, the people that build the rockets get paid more than the astronauts that go into space. And I'm like, wait, what? And I realized that because the people that build the rockets are providing the value for the people to get up there and return safely.
Yep.
And it just, bro, and even, now I remember, that's why I started my own label, have my own company, because it's like the value that I provide my market is how much I earn based, the positive value the problems that I fix are what provide me income. And it's like, I realize that if I don't own my own, I can't fix problems. If I work at a burger joint, I'm fixing Burger King's problem. And I'm getting paid how much Burger King's going to pay me. And it's like, if I fix problems for people that's peer-to-peer, I'll get paid based on that value. So, as an adult, as a kid, I knew this world of open source was going to happen. When you think about it right now, remember when you used to jailbreak a phone? When was the last time somebody jailbroke a phone? Everything is open source now. You don't need to.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy when I think about it. Like, even as a young man right now, I look at it, I'm like, wow, like, the world is moving so quick. 10 years now, it's like 3 decades.
Yeah.
Like, for real. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, look, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you coming to Chicago. I love to see all the things that you got going on, man. Good luck on your tour, your podcast, Glockwork Records, inner workings management, a whole shebang, man. Congrats, and thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure, man. Well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for coming to my CJ Talk. You know what I mean? I'm going to be on TED Talk one day. This is me, putting that out right now, probably before the end of the year. Lastly, before I want to give some game on some books, but I just want to talk about 2 of my goals real quick. One, to be in Forbes 30 under 30.
Okay.
I'm putting that out right now. And then get on a TED Talk within this year. I'm putting that out right now. So, is it cool if I give a list of books for people?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, extra live.
Open right now, so I'm gonna give a bunch. So these are books that have personally really changed my life. The first is The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Okay. The next is obviously Contagious by Jonah Berger. The next one is Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. Really great book on how to just focus on certain things, and if you can't, hire somebody else. The next is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Really great book on how to leverage your teamwork and your resources. This one is called Positive Thinking by William Dispenza. Only a 2-hour audiobook, so you can finish that in a day. Another Robert Greene, Art of Seduction. Then there's the 48 Laws of Power, also by Robert Greene, one of my favorite writers. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. The 17 Indisputable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. This is a great one. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Shout out to Russ for this one. The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. Great book. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Again, it's a revision. There's another one here. It's All in Your Head by Russ. He wrote a book, believe it or not. Not a lot of people know that. And then Cash Flow Quadrant and Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Both of those books. So hopefully whoever's watching this takes some heed to those books. A lot of those books are on mindset, leadership development, and success, you know. So shout out to CJ for having me on. You know, go follow him everywhere, CJ the Smart Guy. And just shout out to your vision and your mission, man. I really appreciate and honor you for what you do in the community and for the world. So thank you.
Man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you for coming on. And CJ the Smart Guy, Denver, man, we out.
All right. Check. Thank you.